It is now time for the closing or concluding remarks, and may I please welcome to the stage R. Andreas Kramer, the founder and director emeritus, Ecological Institute, Germany, European Union, to start the concluding remarks.
Thank you very much for that introduction, and I must say that I love your voice. This is the two-day summary of what happened on the stage, which you've seen and heard, but also what happened in the margins, because important things happen in the margins of conferences, particularly at this one, and what it means for us as a think tank community going forward. And I will do that with a little bit of help from my friends and yours. But I'll start with today's first larger intervention by Minister Salman bin Khalifa Al Khalifa. He spoke, as he said, on behalf of a global community of political leaders. And he underlined the increasing importance of evidence-based, forward-looking and well-argued advice as input into policy making. I wish, Minister, that all political leaders would say it. Thank you for saying it, and thank you for confirming that in your view, think tanks are important in the role that they play in, and again, I paraphrase things that he said, test and to contest the assumptions, the logic models of change, the data and information, the analyses, the methods, and the recommendations, the conclusions that come out of research, to look at the biases and the norms that underlie the existing policies and proposed policies. It's the quality of the analysis that helps us avoid making policy mistakes and to design good policies. It raises the point that the what-if questions and the so-what questions, the core questions that we as think tankers are asking, are really important, and they're not being asked by academic researchers in the same way that they are asked by think tankers. And in all the 5 or 6, if you include the post-pandemic response, of his examples, he made it clear to us that this is no longer something that is national, but it is global, it is international, it is global, and that think tanks need to think globally and cooperate globally in a way that we do. We then had a beautiful panel celebrating the new and long overdue Women in Think Tanks and Policy Advice Global Network with 4 working groups and a plan to go forward. The 6 women on the panel here spoke to claim their rightful place, the rightful place of all women in think tanks. They reviewed developments and progress made so far in various countries, in various organizations, and exchanged good and best practice of what was done and what can be copied elsewhere, and there was the offer of more information to come. We look forward to that, to the work of that network helping to empower women, because the women on the stage also revealed how much more there needs to be done in order to give women their rightful place in think tanks. Jim asked me also not to summarize only what was said here, but also to highlight things that were missing. And here is something I would like to do, and it comes from my personal experience as a regular evaluator of research proposals in national and European research funding for think tanks and for academic research. And what I see is that practically all proposals that I get to see have boilerplate language on what they will do on the gender issue. They all count positions in the recruitment, existing positions in the organization that are held by women. They all do. There's boilerplate language that you can copy and you put it in and you know that you tick the box in that. Only about 10 to 20%, depending on the research areas and the disciplines involved, explain how they're going to do this in the methodologies of their research when it comes to stakeholder involvement or the definition of focus groups or anything like that. That is where we enter. 10 to 20% of work actually considers the role of women in the generation of the knowledge as a methodological question, and less than 3% of all the research proposals I see do say something about the specific and asymmetric impact of policies on women or other groups. And this is something that is missing. We, as a group, as a community of think tanks, do we do enough, as the women asked in so many other respects, do we do enough in order to understand the asymmetric, systematic and specific impact of proposed policies and of existing policies on women and other groups that need to be looked at? We also had then a very good panel of building better bridges to policymakers and the public, and it discussed innovative ideas on the use of social media, the importance of new information and new data that is then delivered in a timely and relevant manner to those people who need to make the decision, using the language of the recipient so that it is understood and appears to be relevant. The relevance becomes clear to them. We need to target the messages in their tone, in their structure, in the style, in the format to those audiences in the plural. That is work that needs to be done, and the conclusion is for think tanks, we need to invest more in communication staff and need to think about that strategically. And there was an interesting unsaid discussion, because in the title of that panel it said building bridges to policymakers and the public. But do we build the bridges separately, or do we build a bridge to the public in the hope that they influence the policymakers? Is it two bridges in a row? Or do we build bridges to the policymakers in order for them to explain to the public what the policy should do? Which way around do we actually do that? It is a discussion that we didn't have. But we did have useful discussions on strategies to use those short teachable moments that we have in political crises to get messages across to your audience, to the multipliers, and to the supporters of your think tank, because most of us will need to raise funds as well. We discussed in that panel the right combination of research and on the policy substance to understand the scientific logic of the policy in question, the policy analysis in order to understand the power logic, but also the legal and the economic analysis that we need to understand in order to justify the policies to be proposed or to criticize the policies that we want to improve or dismantle together. And it became very clear that this is teamwork. It cannot be done by one person alone. We've also seen the value of discussion on stage here and storytelling amongst peers, and this is exactly what Jim wanted us to do here in this setting. So I come back to the original first keynote by Nicolas Véron. He is a violinist, so he understands how to give keynotes. And what he said is reminding us of an author, the name of which I forgot, but community is important for the self-definition. Jim McGann gave us the community that meets in this room. And he made us who we are today by the logic of the keynote by Nicolas Véron. And we have the choice now no, we don't have a choice. We don't have a choice but to continue working with one another and to build this community, because that is who we are. And this brings me to a few things that need to be said about what happened in the margins, and I said that I would not do that myself, but I have good friends here, your friends, to help me with that. And first I call Laura Whelan to the stage here to take my place. I cede my place to you, Laura, as the Assistant Director of the Sustainable Information Economy. That's her title today, but I think she has an inventory number in the Think Tank and Civil Society program of the University of Pennsylvania. You've been a veteran of so many of the meetings, a collaborator of Jim McGann for so many years, and you're truly qualified to think about how to carry on his legacy. Laura.
Thank you, Andreas. That is incredibly kind. Oh, sorry, this mic doesn't like me. Am I okay? Yeah, let's hope. But in any case, thank you all for joining here today. It is with a very heavy heart that I stand here in the place of my mentor and very good friend, Dr. Jimbo McGann. I would like to start with a tremendous thank you and congratulations to Dharasat and their team, who have delivered a thoughtful, articulate, and truly outstanding Global Think Tank Summit despite unparalleled challenges. Not only did you face the uncertainty of running a summit during a pandemic, but you created a true hybrid event spanning virtual and physical worlds. To suddenly lose our fierce leader of 25 years, so close to this summit that he'd been looking forward to for a full 4 years, is truly heartbreaking and the hardest challenge of all. That brings me to my second thank you. To the tireless interns of the TTCSP, Ben, Zuha, and Laura, all of whom poured their heart and soul into this summit to ensure that it was a success and embodied not only Jim's plan, but also his legacy and spirit. If we wish to evolve, as Jim emphatically encouraged, not only are sustainable practices, planning, and knowledge sharing key, but so is the willingness to change at a moment's notice and to pursue unorthodox approaches. Now, it falls to each of us to ensure that Jim's legacy continues and the work that is needed to be done does not go undone. Across regions, sectors, languages, and specialties, each person at this summit owns a crucial piece of the future of think tanks and civil societies. Although it is a gift, it is also a responsibility. We hope that we can count on you to keep pressing forward. Jim always believed that there was more work to be done, work that wouldn't be possible without the engagement and commitment of all of you. We couldn't agree more. Thank you and safe travels home. And now I have the honor of introducing Paolo Magri and Aaron Shull, who will continue. Jim's legacy.
Thank you, Laura, for those beautiful and touching words. And yes, indeed, in order to fill in the details about what might be possible, because an instruction to do something to everybody is equivalent to an instruction to do something to nobody. So ultimately, there needs to be a group selected by acclamation of volunteers that takes things forward, and there is a plan, and this is going to be presented by Paolo and by Aaron.
Thank you, Andrea, for the wonderful, as usual, wrap-up of the official program of the summit. The unofficial program of the summit, at coffee breaks, at lunch, was dominated by Jim Morning and the discussion on the future of the program, the succession of the engine of the program. On a personal base, and also sometimes on an institutional base, we have gone through that before in our life. When one of our relatives goes away, our father, our mother, or when the founder of our institution dies. And we know that there are things to do and things to avoid. We have to immediately handle urgent issues, the bank account, organizing activity the day after this happens. And then, in the medium term, we have to reshape either our family or our institution. And we know there are things to avoid. Avoid divisions. Avoid someone moving ahead in an uncoordinated way. As Aaron and I have been involved in this unofficial program, talking with you, listening the extraordinary desire to continue, sometimes the desire to change, sometimes the desire to improve. Last night for Aaron at midnight and 5:30 in the morning for me, We had a talk with Emily, Jim's wife. She wanted to talk with us, possibly together with others, but it was very late at night, very early in the morning when I saw the message. And now, on her behalf, I will share a few messages, 5 messages, that Emily wanted to reach this group, our community. The first and paramount message is a reassuring one. The program is going to continue, maybe different in structure or activity, but will continue. Second, different plans are being explored. Actually, have been explored since Jim was already handling his transition from pen. Third, as mentioned in my reference to family and institution mourning someone of the family or the founder, as mentioned, there will be 2 different transitions. A short-term, temporary one to handle urgent decision. Should we have a ranking in a month's time, doing business as usual? What about the interns? What about the meetings scheduled February, March, April, May next year? So this is the short-term transition, temporary transition. There will then be, for sure, a medium-term transition to identify the adequate structure of the program of the future. Where, what, who, to institutionalize the program. Fourth point from Emily. To advise her on transition 1, the temporary, short-term, weeks, not months, Emily will invite a small group, a small external group, ideally 3 members of our community, with one of them as authoritative chair, someone well respected by each of us, someone who can be a sort of a supporter, guarantee of the short-term temporary transition. She would have liked, my last point, her last point, she would have liked to give an immediate sense of continuity, to announce already today to you, to our community attending the Global Summit, the small advisory and temporary team for Transition 1, but contacts with the possible authoritative chair will be happening only by the end of this week. These are the 5 points I was invited to deliver to this group by Emily last night. Let me conclude briefly before I turn to my friend Aaron, congratulating as well as Andreas and Laura did with those who made this incredible meeting incredible, even if it was not in an exceptional situation, but even more incredible given the exceptional situation, incredible meeting. For sure, Zua and the other intern, but for sure, Abdullah's team, Naila, and all the other people who are in this room. You pampered us with ideas, but this happens often in our meetings, but also with incredible food, and said by an Italian sometimes makes sense, incredible location, the incredible evening last night. My reputation with my nephews, the son of my sister, had an incredible boost last night when I sent picture from the place where we were. So I've been struggling all my life to assert my reputation with my nephew, with my job, with my interview, with my think tanks. No way. Last night, with a couple of pictures and a short video, I had an incredible boost. Thank you very much.
I want to answer 3 questions. What did we do? Why did we do it? And why does it matter? What did we do? We showed up. We're here. It was hard. In a pandemic, we showed up. The loss of Jim, we showed up. And we did it. It was hard, but we dug down and we did it. Why did we do it? Because we care. Because we believe. We believe in the community. We believe in the value of what we've done. We came together as a global community to exchange ideas, to exchange best practices, to work with one another, to understand and to advance as a community. And why does it matter? We can make the world a better place, but we're stronger together, and we're stronger as a community. And I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to use an example, and Abdullah, I hope you don't mind. Last night was the first time that we met, and we shared dinner together. And I found you charming, erudite, well-spoken. I wanted to spend more time together. And I feel as though we've all started a friendship, but we couldn't have done that on a Zoom call. We couldn't have done that on a Zoom call. We showed up, we dug down. You put on a conference, a global conference that was exceptional. I've hosted one, Paolo's hosted one, Marlos, my friend, has hosted one. It's not easy to do when things are going well. The fact that you did it when it was hard, with this level, is truly outstanding. So I'll leave you with one message. It's hard now, but we're going to dig down. The community is strong. I feel better knowing all of you. I feel stronger amongst my friends. And I feel as though the community will persevere and that we're stronger now and that we're better now because we're here, because we dug down and because we did it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That was incredible, to be honest, to have the full 2 days being summed up the way it has been summed up too.